multiplayer is a nightmare. Here's what happened. Okay, here's the basics. In a single player game, one chunk of code, usually called main or update, runs every single frame per second. So if you're at 60 FPS, this code right here runs 60 times. Multiply that across every single one of your entities, everything that's doing things in the game, and you've got a video game that does things without you. Great. Now, that's all local to your machine, to your computer or console or whatever, but since we're so good at putting lightning into rocks anyways, usually all that code running at 60 frames a second is no problem. You can run a ton of code, it's usually not that hard. With multiplayer, this gets exponentially more complicated. You see, no longer is the client just running the code every frame. No. The client asks the server for permission to do it first. They have to ask the multiplayer host if they can have clearance to run their own code. It bounces to the server, which almost always says, yeah, dude, totally fine, but first, I have to tell every other player that you're gonna do it first, and after they're notified, you're gonna run your code, and they're gonna play the appearance of your attack animation on their copy of your player mesh. Does that sound complicated? 'Cause it is! Very much so! In a multiplayer game, every time you click a button, mostly, there are exceptions, the server says, yes, you click that button, and then it tells everybody else that you're doing something. Think about that. Every time Arissa shoots her laser things, the server spawns a laser beam, not just at your cannon, but at every other player's copy of you. That's 12 copies of every laser if everyone is looking at you. She's got like 50 bullets in there. That's 600 shots of laser that have particles, animations, hit effects, and not to mention the forward vector that they fly in over time. What? Okay, rant's over. Let's back up a little bit, okay? I love Unity. It's a great engine, it looks phenomenal, it has a ton of powerful tools. However, recently it came out with its claim of an end-all be-all multiplayer solution called netcode. Great, netcode. I'll download the plugins, I'll get it started, I'll watch a ton of tutorials, and nothing is working. Nothing. It's a mess. My code is turning into spaghetti. There are more comments than functional lines, and oh my god, the stuttering. There's so much stuttering and frame rate issues, and the cameras aren't behaving well, and apparently you can't share cameras between two players in a scene. So I reach out to my programming genius friend Tim, saying, Tim, why are my RPCs not working? I don't understand. And Tim says, why are you using RPCs? Those are ancient witchcraft to me. But this is new! This is new stuff from Unity! I bumped my microphone, and there can be a lot of performance overhead to RPCs. Oh my god! 20 hours gone! 20 hours done! Just wasted on an outdated, undocumented API that requires a massive learning curve and prior networking skills. I just said, alright, screw it. I'm gonna go third party. Okay, I'm gonna see if a company has made their own API that just plugs straight into Unity, and hopefully it'll be a little easier to code with. It's called Photon. It's called Photon, and it worked in under an hour. Look at this, look here, it's working with like 20 people connected at once. The game only has 4-player lobbies, and it's working with finally! It's finally working, okay. It works peer-to-peer. It's got room passwords. When the host leaves, it picks someone new to be a host at random. It's everything I wanted. Thank you, Photon. I don't know how Steam integration works yet. I'll burn that bridge when I get there, but for now, it's working. It's working, and it's so easy to integrate that I can spend lots of time working on new mechanics with one player before I need to copy them a bunch of times and retest them with multiplayer again. And every time I finish something, the game looks more and more possible to do. It's a rush, it's an adrenaline rush to be stuck on something and then you move past it, and it's a high for sure. So what's next? Good question. The hard part. So this is the first combo hit of the Sword and Shield attack, right? 1/ at a downward angle. Easy enough, yeah? Not quite, because let me ask you, how is damage calculated? Based on the equipped weapon, right? Maybe the weapon has its own base damage stat? Not quite, not for our case. If you remember Devlog 0, your many skills will level up and persist as you play. One of the rewards for training the strength skill is that you get a slight multiplier to all of your attacks. That way it's meaningful, but doesn't put you in god mode when you're playing with a new friend or something, right? So on each weapon is attached this code. It's got a base damage, I can make whatever I want, and it defaults the player damage multiplier to 1, so, unchanged. You multiply it by 1, it's just the base damage if you're level 1 in strength. When you smack an enemy, it runs some pretty easy math here. Unity multiplies the sword's damage by the player's strength bonus, and that rounds to a non-decimal flat number. It takes the final integer, sends it back to the enemy so it can subtract its own health. It also turns off the hitbox of the sword immediately upon registering the attack, so the sword doesn't ping this method every single frame it's in contact with the bad guy. Okay, you get all that? Let's see it in action! Oh yeah, it's all coming together. Here's some more animations for your face. I really like greatswords in games, so one of the combat stances here is based on the Farron greatsword from Dark Souls 3. We got this really edgy idol that's a reference to Pyramid Head, we got this running animation where the tip is gonna drag some sparks around on the floor, and probably the hardest animation I've done so far, the first attack. Whoop-bam! Whoop-bam! Love it, so good, so good. Yes, I'm pretty happy with it. There's some stuff to clean, but I'm happy with it. And that's all the big stuff for this devlog anyway. My next few weeks are going to be all about these weapon combos, trying to get the 3-button pulse input thing down that you see in Breath of the Wild and Dark Souls. So that's 4 more animations, so 2 more hits for the greatsword and 2 more hits for the single-handed sword. That was gross, I'm so sorry. If I get those done easily enough, I'm also going to start on the bow and arrow, but maybe only if I get done the sword and stuff first, because the bow and arrow requires the camera from up behind you to kind of swoop in over your shoulder, and that's a whole other thing. But the last thing I'm going to do before the next multiplayer stress test is start some polish, like particle effects and shaders and possibly some screen shake and maybe friendly fire so us Discord folks can have a bit more fun during the tests. Speaking of which, if you're interested in finding a new friend group and want to get involved with a really cozy, friendly, and mostly wholesome Discord, you can navigate over to the Devlog 0 video where I give the link to it. We have a whole channel that talks about the game where people submit concept art and ideas, and folks are playing Risk of Rain 2 almost every day. And Wordle. Until next time, friends. See you later. Oh yeah! I got a whiteboard for this. Thanks, Mark.